Hey guys, today I want to talk about two real story incidents that happened to myself about being broken into, robbed, however you want to word it. And I also want to go over some surprising laws that you might find pretty interesting. And then I'm going to wrap it up with all what happened and get into details with that. And just before I do that, just want to give a quick intro. I've been going back and forth now to the Philippines, coming up on 8 years. I actually spend half the time there. I keep my apartment year round. I come back in Canada, and this channel is more about actually just finding that comfort zone, peace and quiet, and and a decent, good life. So it's not just about the Philippines. Anyway, moving on to the first story. This one was actually about them going into my house and robbing me while I'm there. The second one's even more personal. So I was sharing the apartment actually at the time, and I had a two-bedroom, and it was his apartment. It wasn't a big house, nothing like that. And when he came home, he said he was robbed, and I go, "It's impossible. There's no way. I've been home the whole time." And I'm back and forth, between my room, the kitchen. It's a big open apartment, actually, right? And so I'm thinking to myself, no, I must have misplaced it. Obviously he was very adamant. No, no, I got robbed. Like now, it's good. Money's gone. And then thinking to myself, well, it really honestly couldn't be. It just really couldn't be because I just couldn't fathom. I'm here. Like and all the other times, I was home. It was impossible. But no, it was possible. And he actually lost a significant amount of money. Just took money out to get rent paid, visas, and so on and so forth. But the real issue was his passport went missing as well. And that wasn't really, I don't think, planned. It was in his bag. It was in one unit kind of thing. And it turns out the compound got robbed at that time. And now we were in a pretty secure place, cement walls and stuff like that. Now there wasn't the glass and barbed wire right by the door, by the entrance kind of thing, which they ended up putting on after the fact. But a couple of things I want to point out on this one. What was more or less interesting, and I want to share with you as well, is it was very quick, okay? And cash was missing, of course, nothing else. Other places got hit. They had a little bit more time, I guess, because there was a couple of people that were away and they took jewelry. And even the ones that had the time, that's pretty much all it was money, jewelry. I don't know if a phone went missing or not. But the point being is they want something that was quick and simple to be disposed of. And here's what's kind of really interesting. Well, later on, investigating the area and stuff like that, we find out it was actually children because there was little muddy footprints, barefoot. But another really surprising part of this story is putting the landlord, etc., trying to get some information, whatever we can do about it. The community came together and was really helpful. They scoured the area. They never did come up with who and what happened. But I think it was 2 or 3 days later, the actual passport was found. They grabbed a group of people that day already and started, and they already said, well, since the bag was missing, they probably just wanted the cash. They probably tossed it somewhere and just ran on. And yeah, they found, I don't know if they found the bag or not, but they found the passport. That was the whole point of that. And what I thought was really nice was the fact how the community got together. They actually went across. There was a church there nearby. They had some volunteers going around. It was a significant group of people, and they really looked for the place. They had some idea where this was coming from, but there's absolutely no proof, nothing they could do about it. But yeah, I thought that was a pretty cool little ending for that one, that they actually came back with the passport. Now, the second one was a very big learning curve for me as well. This was the very first time I started coming to the Philippines. And they always said, be careful, don't get pickpocketed, and, be careful, be careful. And I'm pretty self-aware of my surroundings. And then after I was in Manila at the time, and I would go do the Basoria. It's not McLaren, that was the one with the big church. And I was staying at the hotel real nearby, so it's walking distance and stuff. Now I'm just having a t-shirt, sandals, and short. That's it. So now you got to imagine, where's my wallet? Of course, it's in my pocket. So 2 or 3 times in that day, I'm going back and forth there, whatever. kids bumping into me, and I didn't know at first what to do. Like what the heck, right? So what am I going to do, right? I'm not going to hit the kids or whatever, but I pretended like I didn't know what was going on. I just like swat my back and stuff like this, and it was like wow, amazing that they would try this. And the one that was a little bit more, I would say, a little bit maybe more nervous was actually when I'm walking to the Mall of Asia. I didn't hit a back alley, but I definitely hit a back road, and there was about 7 to 9 kids, and I would say half of them were kids, like I don't know, 8, 9 years old, and then a few of them were like teenagers. They're getting up there, and that was the group. And I'm by myself, and then the young ones come in, and they literally went right in the pocket. They like just ran up and grabbed the pocket into the pocket. Now they didn't get nothing, but I turned around and I just lost it. Like I thought, okay, I got a show of force here, whatever. And I turned around, and I swore at them, and blah blah blah. I'm not going to swear on here, but anyway, that's what I did. And I said, no more effing pockets, and well, they just really aggressive. And the kids were all laughing at first, trying to make it look like a joke. Okay. The older ones, they were a little bit, they for a split second, they were caught off guard by my reaction, I think. And then they just pretended to laugh it off and go off the other direction. And that made me realize, okay, it's time to buy what I call the man purse. And from there on out, I just never had anything in my pockets. It was always a bag in front of my chest and stuff like that. And I'm not trying to make it sound more dramatic than it is. It is what it is. But here's an interesting part about the law out there. When it comes to children, they're protected 100%. There is no juvie or whatever you would call it, nothing like that. And I found that pretty amazing. There's no repercussions, let's put it that way. Okay? And, fair enough, great. They want to protect the kids. There's a lot of laws about them. I'm going to be making separate videos about laws that you should be aware of anyway. And I'm not trying to do a fear monger. These are just incidents that happened. I still keep going back. I'm not really worried about it. I'm, like I said, self-aware and stuff like that. I'll call a man purse you definitely want to carry. But speaking of the kids now, then I was in a different island, Mindoro, for a couple of years. And this is where it really hit home about how the law is set up. There was a couple break-ins, and they knew the owner was, or the people renting it was a foreigner, and they had 2 places. They were gone up in the mountains, and they'd come back and forth. And they've got hit a couple times. But point being, they were actually hit again by children, a group of kids, that were run by a gang. And it was the adults forming it up and telling the kids to go out because there was no repercussions on it. And I find that very interesting. Now, some of them came forward. There was one that was really scared. Because that person that was renting had a CCTV camera, and he caught them on film. And then some of the kids went to some other foreigner that they were getting along with or whatever and asked for help, and they ended up going to the police station, blah, 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 blah. But I find that pretty interesting, like I said, the way it is set up that way. And another little fact about the law when it comes to the kids, technically, you're not supposed to give children in the Philippines any kind of money. When they come begging, it is against the law. You yourself can get in trouble for giving to the children. And if I'm not mistaken, it was Marcus, not Junior, but the original Marcus that introduced that law. Simply because, and if you think about it, actually was kind of a good way of trying to help the kids. Basically, the intention is don't have the children get used to a handout. They need to get their education and so on and so forth. So that's why that law was introduced. Anyway, I just thought that was pretty interesting. And like I said, I'm not trying to stress anybody out or make it sound more dramatic than it is. I was pretty darn surprised that they broke into the house and had the nerve to come in while I was in the house. And, it was, again, the kids and stuff. Besides all of that, I feel completely safe. I am always aware of my surroundings. I don't wear a bunch of gold or nothing like that and go out drinking all night and all this kind of stuff anyway. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. And if you're an adult and you get caught there, it's the severe, like you're doing a lot of time, and the jail there is not nice, but there's literally nothing set up if kids get into trouble. And that's an interesting fact to keep in mind, because a lot of them are aware of that, especially in the bigger cities and stuff like that. And they know that they're not going to get in trouble, right? So yeah, anyway, guys, I thought I'd share that along. And like I said, some of my other videos I'm going to be making more about the laws and stuff like that. Interesting. If you find this helpful in any way, by all means, please leave a comment, share, and follow along. Anyway, take care.